presentation, I will be covering gender issues in disasters.
Gender can be either of the two sexes assigned at birth in reference to social and cultural differences. But gender is a fluid concept that can be used to denote a range of identities other than the traditional male or female. Gender issues is the notion that different genders have different experiences and vulnerabilities regarding disasters. Some of these gender issues include feminization of poverty, climate change, and LGBTQ vulnerabilities. Feminization of poverty is the unequal state of men and women's poverty rates by which women's risk of poverty has increasingly exceeded that of men's. Some disparities that contribute to this are labor that goes unrewarded, lack of sufficient access to education, and minimal participation in decision-making at home and in the community. This has been seen in disastrous events such as following Hurricane Katrina, where most of the victims trapped in New Orleans were mainly African American women with children. High SES individuals are more likely to respond and recover from disasters better than those of low socioeconomic status, which consists mainly of women at 51% as shown by the pie chart to the right. Climate change is non-discriminatory. It limits natural resources and may cause them to be scarce in many parts of the world. This threat to the livelihood of populations across the globe denotes climate change as a looming disaster. But the ecofeminism movement embodies the commitment to tackle climate change and promote environmental sustainability and conservation. Scholars have proposed that it's the differences in gender socialization between men and women that result in women being more concerned about the environment than men. This is due to women's altruism and compassionate characteristics. For example, in Honduras, the village of La Masica had no registered deaths following the 1998 Hurricane Mitch. This is thanks to women taking on the abandoned task of continuously monitoring the warning system and prompting evacuations to avoid casualties. The LGBTQ community has unfortunately been faced with discrimination for an unnecessary number of years. Their marginalization is heightened further during disaster events. Natural disasters not only destroy residential dwellings but also a range of neighborhood structures that provide a broader sense of home and belonging to LGBTQ populations. And even with the availability of disaster relief aid and temporary shelters, LGBTQ individuals are often denied access to these resources. Government entities need to take consideration these populations when developing disaster response policies, such as implementing policies and fines to shelters that deny them access. To tackle these gender issues, among others in disasters, we can integrate gender in the disaster management response system to promote equity in decision-making processes, increase female participation in government roles to increase sustainable environmental approaches, and provide funding for LGBTQ inclusive shelters and disaster relief so they're able to recover both physically and mentally.